Takuto is found along the beach by Wako and Sugata, forcing Wako to give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to save him. The next day, he awakens at Sugata's estate. Takuto explains that he was so excited to start his new school life that he swam all the way to the island, amusing Sugata. At school, Takuto becomes instantly popular with the girls. He's delighted to be in the same class as Sugata and Wako. He later encounters Sugata and asks where Wako is, and he explains that she is performing a purification ceremony, her duty as one of the 4 maidens of the island. That night, she is subsequently captured and used by the brigade's de facto leader Miyabi as entertainment. Takuto attends a dormitory orientation headed by Benio, warning everyone to follow the rules or face punishment. He also meets 2 dorm mates, George and Tetsuya. Meanwhile, an organization called the Glittering Crux Brigade meet, and they break the seal on the Northern Maiden, powering up the mechas called Psy-Bodies to the second phase. Takuto travels to the gold mine, hoping to find clues regarding his missing grandfather. However, he is attacked by a masked George. He awakens inside their base, where he sees George activate his Psy-Body, called Alephis. Time suddenly stops for all except the Glittering Brigade, and they travel to another dimension, where they hope to break the other maiden seals. To their shock, Takuto also enters the dimension. He then reveals that he is the galactic pretty boy pilot of the hidden 22nd Psy-Body Tauburn. The Crux are astounded, and they remark that Tauburn is in the 3rd phase, far stronger than any Psy-Body they can muster. He crushes the Alephis and rescues Wako, and time begins to flow once more. For his defeat, George is forced to surrender his badge as a pilot. The next day, Takuto meets Kanako, a promiscuous girl who happens to be married, despite being 15 years old. Sugata later brings him to the drama club, headed by Endo, where he meets 2 other members, Jaguar and Tiger, and Vice President, a small fox. She explains that Psy-Bodies can only move in a state called Zero Time. The Glittering Crux Brigade plans to remove the seals on all 4 island maidens and to release the Psy-Bodies slumbering and underground. And with its power, they hope to alter the economic, social, and political landscape of the world. Sugata, Endo, and Wako discuss if Takuto could possibly be a Crux spy, but Endo trusts him. However, she partly blames Sugata for not awakening his own Psy-Body, even though he can. Meanwhile, the Glittering Crux Brigade officers, composed of Head, Ivrone, President, Scarlet Kiss, and Professor Green, discuss the defeat of Alephis the previous night. They decide whoever can defeat Tauburn will become their leader. Benio learns from Tetsuya that George is locked in his room, frustrated at his defeat. She kisses him, spurring him on to face off against Takuto. Tetsuya pilots his Psy-Body, Tetriote, plunging the island into Zero Time. He challenges Takuto to battle, and he boards his Tauburn. Although Tetriote initially overwhelms the Tauburn with its speed, especially in its motorbike form, Takuto eventually fires back with a Tau Galaxy Beam, obliterating Tetsuya in one shot. Kanako asks Takuto if he thinks it's weird that she is married to the 65-year-old billionaire Leo, but he declines to answer. Overhearing that he has no money, she offers him a part-time job cleaning the pool aboard her yacht. Sugata and the others tag along. When Vice President causes a commotion, a confrontation between Takuto and Kanako's servant, Takashi, occurs. Kanako organizes a duel between them, promising to double Takashi's pay if he wins. However, she soon becomes bored when she realizes neither of them are taking the fight seriously. Simone, Kanako's other servant, tries to convince Takashi to fight the Tauburn. He's later called by Kanako, who reveals she overheard their conversation and asks him if he's up to the task. He launches his Psy-Body, the Sadikt, and challenges Takuto to a duel. Donning the Tauburn, he's surprised to find that Sadikt also wields a sword, the Amethyst. Takuto draws his own star sword, the Emerald, surprising the Crux. Takashi's swordsmanship is clearly superior to that of Takuto's, but he turns the tables when he shockingly draws another star sword, the Sapphire. Kanako realizes his natural form is dual-wielding. Takashi is defeated, forcing him to surrender his Star Driver badge. The headmaster visits the drama club, expressing his high hopes for their next performance, especially Wako singing. Tiger sternly reminds Takuto that Wako is already engaged to Sukata, but he clarifies that the marriage was arranged. The next day, Wako is bewildered to find the island completely empty. She wanders while singing towards the beach, where she finds Takuto. The pair discover they're alone on the island and find shelter inside a shed when it starts to rain. When he suggests they try and swim to the mainland, she reveals she cannot leave the island as long as her seal is intact. She's practically a prisoner. They later explore for more clues and suspect they are in Zero Time. However, Takuto is unable to summon Tauburn. They continue to bond, and she confides how she was scared when she first materialized her maiden Psy-Body. Elsewhere, Tiger is strapped inside a cyber basket, forced to pilot the Psy-Body Hygiant. As they realize they are now in Zero Time, Takuto summons the Tauburn and prepares to fight the Hygiant, but it retreats instead. Miyabi remarks that Tiger cannot fight, but congratulates Nichi for fulfilling her objective. Tiger later awakens with no recollection of the last few hours. The next day, Takuto tells Sugata that he plans to destroy every Saibody the Crux Brigade has. While doing exercises for the drama club, Takuto meets Tsubasa, an honorary member that handles special effects. A sudden earthquake sends him to the infirmary, where he is cared for by Nurse Okamoto, who has an obsession with pretty boys. She encounters Nichi, who reports that potions are being stolen from their club room. Later, Okamoto, revealed to be Professor Green, oversees the successful testing of her Saibody Yadak, which can manipulate space-time. Under the alias of Hina, Okamoto uses her ability to become younger and seduce the school, but Tsubasa is unaffected. Another earthquake occurs, and she suddenly disappears. Nichi finds Okamoto in the science prep room, discovering her to be the thief of the love potions. They realize they are both members of Crux, recognizing each other as Professor Green and Evrone. After receiving a letter from Hina, Takuto and the others confirm their suspicions that she is Okamoto. Sugata surmises that the recent earthquakes are a result of her abusing Yadak's powers. Takuto meets with Okamoto and confronts her on the earthquakes she's causing. She turns defensive and reaffirms her goal of becoming the leader of Crux. That night, she re-enters Yadak and faces off against Takuto's Talburn. She defends against his ferocious attacks, and in response, she curls up into a ball and enters precognition mode, allowing her to see several seconds into the future. However, she becomes distracted by Takuto's appearance, and she's defeated. She surrenders her badge to Evrone, who correctly suspects she was hot and bothered while fighting Takuto. The next day, Okamoto laments that she can no longer use her powers. Fortunately, Tsubasa visits her, who admits he has feelings for her. When Sugata declines to accompany them, Wako takes Takuto downtown to get his watch fixed. An island native, Yano, watches from afar, and is distrustful of Takuto, who is an outsider. After enjoying each other's company, they settle at a small cafe, where Wako reveals today is Sugata's birthday. She explains he always hated his birthday, as 5 years ago he was given the burden of his Saibody. Wako explains that Saibodies like Takuto's are warriors, while those like hers are called maidens. But Sugata's is called the King, the strongest Saibody in the world. Although Sugata can freely leave, he's trapped on the island to safeguard the Saibody against any evildoers. Sugata has yet to activate the Saibody, as all those who activated its first phase all fall into a deep sleep. The pair walk home, and Wako admits that Sugata means a lot to her. Takuto brings her to the estate to give the birthday present she bought for him, but Tiger says he has barricaded himself in the dojo. Instead, Takuto has Wako sing a song for Sugata to hear, and he is visibly moved. Suddenly, Takuto and Wako are attacked by Yano's first phase ability, Mermaid Doll, a water clone. Tiger and Jaguar come to their defense, but they are quickly defeated, forcing Takuto to come to their aid. Although he defeats it using 2 swords, Yano loses control of the Mermaid Doll, and it goes berserk, summoning several more, which quickly overwhelm him. To help his friends, Sugata activates the King's Pillar, which annihilates all the Mermaid Dolls at the cost of sending himself into a deep sleep. While Wako rushes to cradle him, Takuto remarks that today was also his birthday. Sugata has yet to awaken, leaving both Takuto and Wako despondent. Takuto confides with Endo regarding his worries over Wako's mental state, and he wonders if he's simply getting in between a loving couple. She reassures him he's not a disturbance, but a dear friend, and he can do something for them by simply being there. Elsewhere, Yano launches the Kafrat, plunging the island into zero time. Takuto, eager to exact revenge for Sugata, summons the Talburn. Critically, they notice that Sugata is present, hinting that he is still alive. The Kafrat initially confounds Talburn, peppering it with water blasts, compounded by its diving ability. When Sugata's bubble pops, Takuto leaps to save him, giving Yano the opportunity to deliver the finishing blow. To their surprise, he reacts with astonishing speed, destroying the Kafrat. When time flows once more, the pair race back to the estate, but find Sugata missing. They follow him to where he activated the King's Pillar, where the Crux is waiting for him. They invite Sugata to join the Crux, and when Benio realizes his will is gone, she takes advantage of it and kisses him. While George and Tetsuya keep Takuto at bay, he manages to break free and tries to slap some sense into Sugata, but his personality has undergone a radical change. Sugata has become cold and distant, worrying both Takuta and Wako. Takuto confronts Sugata for how he has been acting lately, and especially for how he has been mistreating Wako. He retorts that as an outsider, he knows nothing of their suffering or their burdens. Suddenly, Benio pilots the Percent, dragging the island into zero time. She grabs Sugata, who is under her control due to her first phase power, which subjugates boys she has kissed. She becomes confident in her victory. As she prepares to battle Talburn, she's startled to find that Sugata has overpowered her and has commandeered her controls. He fights Takudo in her place, and the two appear to be evenly matched. The Tauburn is knocked back several times, causing the Crux to commend Benio's skill. Not knowing that Sugata is responsible, they put their full power into each other's final attacks, and as their punches collide with explosive force, it is the Tauburn that comes out on top. When the time flows once more, Takudo and Sugata reconcile, having talked to each other using their fists. Mizuno, an eccentric girl who can talk to animals and always guesses the ice cream flavor her sister Marino chooses, is enamored by Takudo after she sees him rescue a baby crow. While the drama club discuss their upcoming play, Mizuno stumbles into their room after following Vice President there. She's ecstatic to see Takudo and snuggles up to him. At a Crux meeting, Marino, under the alias Manticore, introduces herself as a substitute for Miyabi, who is currently out. Marino shares Miyabi's concerns that they are unable to defeat Tauburn unless they can power up their side bodies using the second maiden, and orders the suspension of all battles against Tauburn. Later, Marino's subordinates impatiently decide amongst themselves that Bo will be the next to challenge Tauburn, and Marino authorizes the battle on the pretext of data collection. While training at the dojo, Sugata, Wako, and Takudo are all transported into Zero Time. Takudo, who has been expecting the battle, summons Tauburn to battle against Bo's Lamth. Bo's swordsmanship is strong and ferocious, and Takudo initially struggles to defend. When he manages to disarm Bo, he's shocked to find that he has a secondary spear as well. However, the advantage is short-lived, as Takudo's skill is superior, and he finishes him off with a galactic cross-slash. Bo complains it was not a fair fight, and hopes they find the West Maiden soon. Later, Marino bathes with Mizuno, and swears to protect her little sister's identity as the West Maiden. During a friendly game of baseball, Takudo and Sugata turn heads as an unstoppable power duo. Marino shows her that fame as a sports star is not just for show, as she scores a home run from one of Takudo's pitches. During a play, Takudo collides with Marino, landing on top of her. He apologizes and tries to help her up, but she refuses his help. He compliments her on her eyes, and Marino blushes in response. During the final play, Takeo, jealous that Takudo is getting friendly with Marino, uses his first phase ability to suddenly curve the ball, handing Takudo's team a loss. After the game, Mizuno teaches Takudo a "it'll be alright" spell, which she says will only work if he really believes in it. Takeo later meets with Marino, identifying her and himself as Manticore and Swordstar. He remarks that it must be tough to have a strange sister like Mizuno, a comment she does not take lightly. She later tells her sister to stop teaching people her spells, as they're just laughing at her deep inside, but Mizuno insists that Takudo is different. In a flashback, it's revealed that their mother abandoned their two daughters to look for her husband. Marino becomes depressed, and her sister teaches her that "it'll be alright" spell, which she uses to this day. Elsewhere, Takeo pilots the Zainas and brings the island into Zero Time. Takudo faces him inside the Tauburn, but he struggles against Zaina's orb barrage, which manages to seal his movements. The assault is unrelenting, and Takudo begins saying that "it'll be alright" spell, which Marino notices. Takudo overcomes Zainas, destroying it with a galactic cross-slash. As Marino sits in the bathtub with Mizuno, the latter reveals the secret as to why she always knows the ice cream flavor she chooses. They always like the same things. Kanako invites her entire class for a private party on her yacht to celebrate the end of midterms. The crowd is serenaded by a joint performance of Wako and Takashi, and the latter playfully asks Takudo for another duel. Meanwhile, Sugata encounters Miyabi, unaware he is head of Crux. At a Crux meeting, Okamoto reports that it is now possible to regenerate side bodies, but there are certain risks. She warns that the process requires a portion of the pilot's libido. If the amount is insufficient, their energy will be drained from them instead. Now feeling the pressure to defeat Tauburn, Kanako asks Simone to deliver a letter to Takudo, inviting him out on a date. Simone interjects and explains that Kanako only recently started attending school, and she likely asked him out on a date to get a sense of normalcy. He thanks her for coming by to drop the letter, complimenting her blue eyes in the process. During their date, she asks him if he thinks her habit of kissing men through glass, and he remarks that she's just kissing the glass. She says the two of them should try it one day. That night, Kanako confronts Takudo under the guise of president and tries to dissuade him from fighting, but he resolves to resist them. After pummeling George in a warm-up fight, she pilots her Betrayda, a close combat specialist side body. She erects a boxing ring around them and absolutely pummels Tauburn into a corner, sending it to the canvas after mere seconds. To her surprise, he manages to get up, and using a new move, the Star Crusher, he blasts a hole through the Betrayda, destroying it. As she relinquishes her badge, she's scolded that she can no longer be a leader. She remarks, "If he keeps beating us, nobody can." The next day, she sneaks a kiss onto an unsuspecting Takudo. After emerging victorious from a girls' kendo tournament, Benio arrives at Sugata's estate to challenge them to a match. He instead has Takuto fight in his place, but Benio defeats him in one stroke. She plots to place Takuto under her control due to his value as Sugata's right-hand man and visits him in his dorm room. When her kiss fails, she aggressively comes onto him instead, but he rebuffs her advances.